Hi, and welcome back to the channel. In this episode, I catch up with my friend and colleague, Aditya, where we talk all things mindset in business, the millionaire mindset, and spirituality in terms of success. We dive into a side of business that most business owners ignore, the inner game. And we talk about how mindset, energy, and spiritual growth aren't just personal growth topics, they're strategic tools for the success of any business, for businesses looking to scale to millions and beyond. This one's for business owners who know that business isn't just logic, it's frequency. So let's dive in.
Welcome, Aditya. Tell us about you.
Okay, so thank you for inviting me in the podcast. I'm very happy and honored to be here. And I am a personal branding strategist and social media manager for Tenacious. And I also help freelancers and corporate people like build their personal brands. I have worked with like multiple founders, coaches, and someone who are just starting their business, and I have helped them to grow their brand and get clients and stuff. So yeah, if you need help, feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you will find the link in description.
Yeah, and we'll put the link in the comments as well, so
Oh, thank
people can
you.
go to Aditya. Aditya is brilliant, and the quality of her work is fantastic. So I'd recommend her, and it's also a pleasure to have you to have a conversation with, and always a joy. Yeah, if you want to work with
Thank
Aditya,
you.
she's very good.
Thank you so much for giving me a shout out.
So spirituality in business. What's your take
Okay.
on that?
Okay, so when I talk about spirituality in business, I feel it's more about like co-creation with the universe. If someone tell me that define spirituality and business in one line, I will say co-creating with the universe. And it's not like a very big thing, but it's like a very simple thing. So if I am working on any project, I generally ask help or guidance. And I sometimes imagine that, okay, I am supported in divinely in this because a lot of time when we are building business, this kind of thought that we have that what if this doesn't work out? But if you are
Mm.
someone giving your best, you are taking aligned action, and you know that you are supported, the universe is supporting you, it's just different kind of output you will get every time rather than someone who is doubting themselves and thinking about that. So it's like there is a difference. And think of it like this: whatever project you are doing, you are helping humanity. Any business that we do, we solve a problem, right? We help people do something like get better or maybe make more money or something. Whatever we do, it's for to help the humanity society. So obviously you are doing good work and universe will support in that, but if you ask for help, only if you ask for help, because the concept of free will comes in. So like generally sometimes what happens that I am stuck. Most of the time the business owners I'm talking about, when they are starting, they get confused, like they don't have clarity. If someone would have laid out the steps for them, they will take action because they have that ambition. But the most of the time people get confused, and in that area ask for guidance. Or if you are like getting burned out, or if you don't know that whether you should work with this client or that client or take on this project or not, literally ask for sign. And it's not like a step by statement or something. Just ask that I want this, should I do this, give me a sign, be specific about the sign, this is what I do, and you will
It's
get
so
the your
it's
answer.
so powerful. I just want
Yeah.
to add in there before you continue. So I think for our audience, if you've tuned in and it's a conversation about spirituality and you're thinking some of our, I think such a small percentage of the people that I talk to in business would assign spirituality as something they want to think about or have a conversation about. I think it's a smaller percentage than we might think. But if in terms of business, and if you're running a business, then there's levels to this. You're very deep in terms of spirituality, and we'll get some of that flavor and go deep with you, Aditya. But from a business
Mhm.
point of view, don't be fooled. If you are coming from things from a positive mind, if you have two businesses and one business owner is, this is what I know how to do, so maybe I'll take a few years to get there. And you have another one that's going, well, I want to build a £5 million business and I want to learn all of the steps. This one's probably going to go and fail quicker and then pivot and then learn and take a really positive mindset around that. And this one's probably going to do nothing because they're just afraid to do anything. And for me, that positive mindset and that flavor, and however you do that, whether that's in affirmation, meditation, just being positive, surrendering, as you might call it, is spirituality in a term. So for business owners, I would say, listen, there's going to be some really interesting things that we're going to discuss in here. And yeah, it's so powerful because the power of the mind, positive mindset. If you think you can, you will. And if you think you can't, then you're also going to be right. Sorry, carry on. Tell us more.
Okay. Based on just what you said, there is one thing I would like to give one example. I When I started into this journey, I saw that like everybody that do affirmations, write this thing 5 times, scripting and all. I did try that. But the thing was that whenever I was writing and all, sometimes it worked, but most of the time it didn't. And with a lot of people, what happens that they have a lot of resistance in their body. And because of that, it doesn't work. Just like when I started, I was writing the whole thing, but I was skeptical about this whole thing, whether this will work or not. And actually,
Do you think, I just want to ask you a question there though, because
Mhm.
some people who would teach this on YouTube and teach the very scriptings that you're talking about from an affirmation point of view would be screaming at the team at the screen saying, no, but it just didn't work yet. And it could take 5 years for it to work. So sometimes with the affirmations, do you put a time on that, or is it just they were trying to do it maybe you were trying to do it too quickly? What do you think?
okay, so when I think about timing, I do not give time to anything because I have personally observed that if I have given time to something, I get desperate. I get into that
Yeah.
desperation energy and I try to control each and everything. And if I try to do that thing I am manifesting, it goes more away rather than coming to me. Because
Yeah.
the version of me that has that thing, that version of me is have surrender. Like that version of me, like she has faith and not the one who has like a desperate kind of energy. So I believe in divine timing. I know that whenever I will be ready for that thing, it will come. And I have, it's not just that I am saying, but I feel like it's like knowing just that sun is going to rise from the east. It's that kind of knowing. And obviously it doesn't come when you're starting out. It takes time with experience and all. But if you are starting out, if you are doing affirmations and like these kind of things, I would really recommend to read like Joe Dispenza book, like The Being Supernatural. I am still reading this book, but I wish that I knew about this book like when I actually got into this one. Because if I talk about scripting and affirmations, it can work when you get into that state of like operating from your future self or operating from that energy. But a lot of people have a lot of trauma and wound that they don't get to that level. They don't have that nervous system to actually hold that kind of energy so that they can just attract things by affirmations.
I think as
So
well, you talked about clarity and vision. I just want to come in there and talk about
mhm,
affirmations for me are gratefulness. I am actually maybe in the third person, Dean is. And so I tend to do that rather than affirmations in I am a strong and powerful person. Dean is a very strong and powerful person, which makes takes some of the emotion away from the affirmations. But for me, that's about grounding and being grateful. And I do that work because I want to remind myself. My brain forgets where I've come on a journey in life and how good it sounds like I'm boasting when I say that, but I want to remind myself that I am a good person and I do learn and I put the effort in. And so I want to be kind to myself because if you know me as a person, I'm very kind to everyone that I come into contact with, and I'm a giver and a fixer, but in the past, maybe not for myself. So for me, affirmations ground me. And then there's this kind of over this side of things is a visualization space, which is that's about, I think there's so many people in this world who have no goal and no vision. and no aspirations, and they're not really clear. And I think if you can become crystal clear on a goal and a vision, and then surrender to the path, not try to control the path. If you do those two things, I think the affirmations actually become really important, but not from a kind of manifestation point of view, from a ground you and then guide you towards. That's my thoughts. I don't know what you think on that.
Okay, so when I talk about affirmations, the kind of I got to, when I was introduced to affirmations, I saw that people were writing that I have $1 million. Okay. And even in my dreams, if I would have wanted, I would have never believed that, because I was a student. My parents were giving my college fees and all, and I did not have any job that time.
You
So
could
how
write
could
it,
I?
but you maybe wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. So that kind of, because when I started, I was like, I have this amount of money, but I did not had the portal open to receive, because when you want to attract any energy, money is like energy exchange. So I need to have that energy to exchange to get the money. So let's talk about the kind of affirmations that work and the kind of affirmations that don't work, obviously. So if whenever we want something like a money or anything, just let's talk about the money, because our audience is startup owners, they're scaling businesses and all. So they have this goal set that I want this, or maybe they want to get featured in Forbes and big like speaking engagement and everything. So if they are writing just that I want to get like I have gotten featured in Forbes and a lot of people are talking about me and this, or maybe I have achieved like $1 billion in this my startup, or $1 million, like whatever amount they have, right? So the kind of like energy that goes with this, it's like more like I feel desperation because they're writing the same stuff. And or maybe someone if want to lose weight, they're writing like I am. If someone is their ideal weight is like 60 kg, they're writing I am and like at 60 kg, and they're not working out but they're eating like sit kind of food. So this will not work out. But the thing is that if you think that why do you want that, right? If we focus affirmation rather than just the outcome, but a different thing, that why exactly you want to have $1 million. For some people, it's just feeling of recognized, feeling of successful. Okay, so how if I say that like I am successful, and if I have in this mind that I am going to feel only successful when I'll have $1 million, and then I am writing that I have $1 million. But actually, I am not chasing the $1 million thing, but actually, I am chasing the feeling that I am successful. And so, in my current life, I can have this affirmations that I am successful, I am kind. Maybe not as kind that as I want to be. Sometimes I am selfish, or sometimes we do things to
No, I
survive.
don't believe it.
See, like everything, we are not like just black and white. Nobody is.
Everyone has shade of grey in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when someone say that, Aditya, you're too nice, but I do have a shadow side too. And I have worked really hard to accept that, because even I could not accept that part of myself.
I think that's an
Literally,
important thing to talk about, isn't it? Because there is work on yourself. And if you think in
yeah.
our audience, we're going to have layers here. So we're going to have startups, freelancers. I'd say that your more freelancer space, Tenacious as a business, is into building a business and structure to then build on that foundation stage. And like me, your background was in corporate. So as an
Mhm.
engineer, managing people, and so this is
Yeah.
not just, this is what you chose to do. So you had a well-paid corporate job in the same way I had a well-paid corporate job.
Mhm.
Both of us come out of that to start a business. And a lot of our audience will resonate with that, where we could have just took the money and lived in a life. But if you really want to do this kind of spiritual stuff, then you have to go with where your balance is and where, and that's really difficult to do. And there's going to be a load of work that people need to do to themselves. And then as they move up the layers, once they've gone from freelance and then they put some structures in place and brought some people in, and now they can call it a business. They could go to an island somewhere for 3 months and the business would run. So they have a business. And then there's a growth stage. So some of our audience will be much bigger and they'll be scaling. So maybe they're a CEO of a $5 million, $10 million business or pound business. And they're watching this. It's never too late to apply this to the next stage that you want to get to, as long as you have a really clear goal and vision of where you want to get to and why, a really clear why you want to get there, because that kind of be careful what you wish for. You don't want to get there and actually realize it's not something that you want. You need to understand your why. And then there's going to be a whole journey there, a lot of learning. People are going to have to learn along the way.
Yeah, I agree. If we talk about people who say that they don't believe in spirituality, but without knowing, they do follow the rules of spirituality. Because
I
I
can
am
give you an
sure that
example of that. Back along before I went into corporate, so going back like 13 years, I had another marketing agency and we did predominantly telemarketing, but we did a bit of direct marketing as well. And so we had clients, some of the world's leading companies, so 3M, British Gas, Assa Abloy, big names on the FTSE 100 and FTSE 250 list, who were clients of ours who would employ us to do telemarketing. And I grew that marketing agency to probably just short of 500,000, so 500,000. So maybe about 380, 400,000, something like that turnover. So doing really well. We had 13 employees on the floor doing telemarketing. But I think I had this thing, 22 things that happy people do, and it was like a document. And so it was things like be kind to people, because karma, what you give is what you get back. And take responsibility for your actions. Don't blame other people. If something goes wrong, take ownership of it. But there were 22 things on this list. And when I went the other day to look back at this list, it was a lot of the things to do with spirituality that makes people a happy person. The letting go of this problem won't matter in 5 years' time. Why are you worrying about it? Move on. Whereas other people stress over something. The internet goes down for a day. Oh, I'm part of the plan. And people used to say to me, how are you so blasé when something really bad happens? And I'm like, 22 things that happy people do. So I was doing this, a lot of the notes of spirituality, but not knowing it. I only knew it 12 years later.
Yeah. And I started noticing this thing, what happened with some of my friends. They say that they are not feminist, okay? But
that's a rabbit hole we're going to go down here.
Yeah, I am not going to talk about this thing, whether our audience is feminist or not, but I am a feminist. Okay?
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends, that they are very close friend of mine and they are good people, and they say that they are not feminist. And if someone says that in front of me, obviously it's a trigger point. But that will happen when I didn't know them. But as a person, they are feminists, actually. They just don't admit that they are feminists.
Yeah.
Because if we talk about feminism, it's about equality. It's about the right to speak or like right for education, food, and the opportunities, and a lot of things, obviously. So they say that obviously females are supposed to get like education. They should get the opportunities and everything, even in corporate world and everything. They say that they take the like equality and all, they believe in that, but they just don't say that they are feminists. And same as that, I have seen a lot of people who are actually spiritual the way, but they don't say that they are spiritual because they associate spirituality with religion and stuff, and maybe some deeper stuff that they don't like. So
there's a label
spirituality is, yes, there is a label to it. So I know a lot of people that I know that they're doing good in life. They have this, they do things like spiritual people, but they don't believe in spirituality. So obviously if we go into this rabbit hole, it will turn out to 2-day podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think a lot of people will
Yeah.
be practicing elements of spirituality without
Yeah.
labeling themselves. I don't know about in India. So let's talk culturally, because we'll have viewers in India because where you are, and we'll have viewers in the UK and America, and we have viewers in Brazil. And so there's a few countries where we'll have viewers for this channel. Could be anywhere globally, you don't know, on YouTube. So welcome if you're watching from wherever you're watching from. But culturally, I can talk about the UK because I know it. And I think that being spiritual here is seen as airy fairy. What I mean by that is that the culture here very traditionally is go to work, get a trade, knuckle down, have someone pay you. That's good as long as you've got food on the table and a roof over your head. Don't worry about dreams. Don't worry about dreams. That's just be happy if you can eat and have food on the table. And then for those that are already dreaming, and maybe they're probably a lot of this audience, you're a startup and you're growing a business, that means you're in a pot of, no, actually, I want to do something for myself. And so I want to have a goal and a vision and a dream. And then I want to go along on a path to get to my goal, vision, or dream. So by very nature of doing that, you're going to have to apply some of these spiritual traits subconsciously, accidentally. And it does make you a different person to what society says you should do, which is find a trade, get married, settle down, and just eat. So they would have to come up with a goal or a vision. They'd have to exercise a positive mindset. They'd have to manage their emotions along the way. They've got to apply action. They've got to experience negative things that happen and then process that, not get derailed by that, realize that's part of the process. And so there's a lot of things that they will do that naturally would come into some of the elements of spirituality, in my opinion. They just don't know it. But there is a connotation in the UK that that people in general, not just business owners, they don't want to say I'm spiritual. It's like uncool. It's an uncool label to say I'm spiritual.
I agree to that.
And I want to wear it on a badge because I think if you're going to be successful and you show me the successful person, then I'm going to list for you all of the things that they do, which has the label spirituality.
So what I feel, if we talk about the definition of a spiritual people, that they know that whatever is happening for the good, and this kind of thing, because a lot of people, whether they believe or spirituality or not, there is this thing that either I'm going to win or learn. In this quote, a lot of people are going to believe that, whether they believe in spirituality or not.
Isn't it? Yeah,
right?
you either win or you learn. You don't fail. Failure's good. It's good.
Yeah, failure is feedback. A lot of people are going to, I say 100% people are going to believe in that. Not a lot of. Everyone is going to believe in that. Either they learn from their mistake or they're going to win. If I say in India, it depends on the kind of people I have interacted with, because whatever I am saying, it based on my experiences and what I have observed, obviously. So I cannot say for everyone because I have grown up. The way I have grown up, I was always in people, because as a kid, I was a good student. If anybody know about the India, and if you know the stereotypical Asian thing that, your Asian parents are gonna beat you up if you get 99 marks out of 100.
Yeah.
So I was a good student, and if we talk about the career opportunity, career choices, we had only two choices: either be a doctor or engineer. So I was like, I don't see myself as a doctor. I like maths and physics, so I'm gonna go and do engineering. And I found electricity interesting. As a kid, I was always fascinated by solar and stuff because I had solar power at home. So I was like, I'm gonna pursue that. So I did my college. I graduated from a really good college. So when I was in preparing for that entrance exam to go into the college, one of my teacher told me that whatever happens to you, it's your responsibility. Nobody is responsible for your outcome. And I was, as a kid, this thing like really, I was around 15 years. And just think of, and this thing like impacted me a lot. That if I am going to get like bad outcome, bad marks, it's like everything it will be my responsibility that I did not do better and stuff. So this thing, it pushed me a lot harder. I remember that I had gotten typhoid, and then I took injection, and then I again went to class in the same day so that I don't miss the, there is a if we talk about in math, there is an integration, so I don't miss the integration from the calculus because it's a very important topic.
Hmm?
A lot of people, a lot of people, if we say that in business, because I had this scarcity in my mind that if I'll miss this, I will have nothing in my life. So a lot of people in business, they think that if I don't post this content or if I don't work with this client, my life is going to end, my business is going to end. But it's not like that. Because
Mm.
whatever I did at that time, if we talk about 15-year-old Aditya, she thought that she's going to be an engineer. And without this integration thing, she won't be able to maybe pass the exam because it's a like really big topic, right? But right now, I am not an engineer. I am doing something different and I am happy with it. I'm literally happy with it. So, whatever will happen, whether you work, do not do something at your expense, right? So, ask yourself that if this is good or aligned or not. And I think the spirituality or surrender part here also comes in, right? A lot of people, they just, I feel they want to scale, but they don't want to stabilize the scale because at every point,
Mm.
at every level, you will grow and you cannot just grow and grow. Sometimes you just want to stay at that point and stabilize so that and fix all the leaks that you have in your business. Because who knows if you fix the leaks and you'll go up because a lot of times we don't realize that how much resources or our energy that we are wasting. Because if you talk about in
Yeah.
our general life, in like day-to-day life, a lot of people go on social media and scroll for 1.5 hours or maybe 1 hour. And the amount of energy it takes, you can do a lot. I'm not talking about time. If you sleep for 1 more hour, that's fine. But if you're scrolling like 1 hour, it takes 4 hours of energy. This is what I have felt personally. So
Yeah.
it's like
Energy
being mindful of
management
energy. Yes,
is
it's
so
very, very
key.
important. Yeah. So I have this rule that in the morning, I am not going to use my phone. Like literally scroll, I will not do that. And I follow whatever rule I set, I follow it to the very strictly. And when I say strictly, it does not mean that a lot of people when say that, oh, I want to be in feminine energy, I don't like masculine energy and stuff. See, it's not like one or the other thing. Both things goes like hand in hand. If we talk about the business structure, all the SOPs and the all the frameworks and everything, how you hire people, the kind of structure that is a masculine part of it, part of the business. If we talk about the relationship and the kind of relationship you have with your employees and the kind of environment, the culture you have, that is the feminine part of a business.
The mothering, yeah, the bit that people get wrong quite a lot because businesses are run by men. I found really interesting the morning routine that you touched on there. And I think that's really
Yeah.
important because there's a couple of things around that. So first of all, the morning routine. So if you haven't read the book The Miracle Morning, that's going to be great for a lot of business owners because it's about structuring. And I saw Chris Kardashian, no, it's Chris Jenner, isn't it? The mother of the Kardashians on a podcast the other day. And she was saying the importance of getting an early start. And they said to her, how early do you get started? She was like, I'm up at 5:30. And they were like, really? That's really early. What about sleep? And I need 7 hours sleep. I go to bed early and then I'm up. And I run all of my girls' businesses, or we run them, these businesses. Who said, I get up and the first thing that I do is I'll have a cup of tea and then I'll think, do a bit of meditation, and then I'll go and I'll work out. But before I start, I've done more than most people will achieve by 11 o'clock. So she's ahead of the game. So she has this miracle morning. So I wanted to use an example, and she just came to the top of my head. But a miracle morning and a structure is really important. I do the same. I get up, and also I think around that, you've got to trust yourself. You said that you're strict in the morning, and me too. One of the things I've worked on is if I say I'm going to do something, then I have to do something because I need to trust myself first.
Yeah.
And that served me so well. So in the morning, I get up, and the first thing I do is I walk the dog. I want to get outside into the universe. I want, if it's sunny, even if it's rainy, I'm going to go and do that anyway. But it's lovely at the moment. You go out, it's really sunny, the flowers are blooming, and I try to actually look around and take it in and feel. It's amazing what that does to my energy. And when I come back, then I'll shower and do some cold showers as well. I'll flip it down for about 5 minutes into freezing cold water, which does really great things for dopamine and how you feel scientifically. If you're unsure about that, just look at cold plunges. Go and have a look at that if you're the effects of that are fantastic. And then I'll do a bit of meditation, and then I'll plan my day, and then I'll start. But again, in a similar way, that's typically before anyone else has started their day. And I think that discipline and structure can be quite important. You have to be a bit strict with that.
Yeah. And I would like to mention one thing that I realized that if something is working for you doesn't mean it will work for you. So you talked about cold showers, and I do not believe in that. I don't like that, to be honest.
What's
I
that?
love cold shower. I don't like that. Cold baths. I am more like warm kind of person. If I had
The thing there is, so am I. I like a hot country, and other people I know don't. I like warm. I'm a warm creature. But the cold plunges is not for pleasure. It has the same dopamine effect,
for everybody.
but for most people, it's the dopamine release when you plunge into cold water. But that you can't control. But I am like you. The first time I did it was very challenging, but I would recommend anyone to push through that because there's a mental steel to do that as well. And that has benefits for you. But I know
Okay.
why you want to be warm. You want to be warm.
Okay, so it's not like that. Okay, I feel there are a lot of things that works differently. So I don't know
Yeah.
about if I talk about the male or men, but if I talk about the female, hormones are very delicate. So I had like PCOD.
Interesting.
Yes, I had PCOD. PCOD is basically it's like your hormones get imbalanced based on stress and everything. And the thing is, when like you take medicine, you gain weight, and the weight increases like pretty soon. You can get like around, you can gain around 8 to 9 kg weight within 3 or 4 months.
And do you
It's like
think a
that.
lot of the female business owners watching this will have that?
Yeah, because see, if I talk about the exercises, the kind of exercises that normally people do to lose weight, and it might work for men or a lot of people. I'm not talking about everybody because I don't know. But with my personal experience, the kind of exercises that my trainer recommended me, it did not work for me. Thing is, like, my body was like, I was exercising and I was gaining weight. I was exercising around 2 hours and I was still not losing any weight. But then I consulted to a different person, and then she recommended me a different type of exercises. And then it worked for me. Like, right now I am healthy, I'm happy. Like, I don't have PCOD. So it's the same thing with everyone. I feel there is nothing. There are some things. Some people are going to like cold baths. Maybe not like they will find beneficial cold bath. If I choose the word more correctly, cold bath will be more beneficial for them. Some people for the strength training will be beneficial for them. For some people they like to do like Pilates or something. Some people like to run. It's See, nothing is easy. When someone starts running, it's not easy.
If
But
all of the best
what if,
things in life are from those things that are hard, if you really think about that, and if you're a viewer and you're thinking about that,
yeah.
the everything that's hard in life
Mhm.
almost invariably is good for you.
So I would say that experiment. I'm not saying that do not do this or do not do that. So try to push through the things and see that how it is, what value this thing adding in your life. Just to say example, I am telling you that I was exercising, but I was not seeing results. So I was like, okay, I need to find something else because this is not working for me. Maybe you found cold baths, like you are like, okay, this is, I don't like this, but I really love the after effect of it. So you're like, I'm gonna do it. But what if
No,
someone,
yeah, don't get me wrong. I know, because I know what you're saying, and that's not going to be for everybody. In fact, that's not going to be for a lot of
Mhm,
people. But the fact is that scientifically, the chemicals that get released when you release yourself into cold water give
mhm,
you a kind of a feeling of I can do anything. This is great. So the reason I do it every morning is because that's such a powerful mindset to then get. Obviously, I'm not going to go and do a line of cocaine to get that dopamine or to drink alcohol to get that dopamine, but it gives you that same level of a hit of confidence and I can do anything that. But you're right, not everybody will do that. In a similar way, bodybuilding would have some kind of factual scientific benefits. I used to find going to the gym, and I could tell when I hadn't been to the gym because my mindset and depression, and I had to go to the gym just to feel the way I feel and can operate in business when being energetic and feeling. But that doesn't mean to say people can't succeed in business without going to the gym. Like they might not be looking at their personal side of things. So
mhm.
yeah, I get it. Some people will, some people won't. But if you were to show me, as I say, it goes back to that. If I was to look at Elon Musk and I was to look at Stephen Bartlett and Daniel Priestley, and I throw names out there,
Mhm.
maybe not Daniel Priestley, but Simon Sinek. If I was to look at some of the wealthiest, most successful people, I think they'd be doing some similar things. That miracle morning that Kris Jenner talks about, they'd be doing that, looking after their physical health. How many times do you see successful people who have a really good physical body, if you like, or figure? Doesn't have to be everybody, but I'm just saying there are traits that you can have that I think if our viewers are watching and they were to put those traits into action, which is the kind of thinking positively, looking after your mental health in whatever way you can learn. That could have 100 different ways you could look after your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, and all of those things. But if they were doing all of those things, it's surprising how quick they could move towards a goal. And if they
Yeah,
don't, what's the opposite effect? If they do nothing, then typically nothing changes.
yeah, this is like one of the scariest question. What if nothing changes?
What
Yeah,
if you do nothing? Yeah.
yeah. Then there is, what's the point of existence? We'll not get into that.
So getting back on point, one of the phrases that I like is enjoy the journey, don't chase the outcomes. So that kind of goes back into that surrendering space. And I think, as I said to you before, many people, we all have children. I've had conversations with my daughter who's 21 about this. And where's the goal and the vision? Typically, anything that happens, you can't open up your maps or your sat nav and go somewhere without a destination. Like you have to have, for me in life, in order to have good mental health and clarity and be in balance, you have to know where you're going. It's stressful to not know where you're going. But if you do have that goal, and I love that phrase of enjoy the journey and don't chase the outcomes, because don't micromanage the path. Just have the goal and just move forward. If you're going to climb a mountain, you're going to reach the top,
Mhm.
but enjoy the journey. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, I love this, quote, but I have little modified this one, okay, because me and my
Have you?
brother,
Interesting. Tell me more.
yeah, it's our like a little thing. So I was having one of the conversation with my brother. I was like, okay, so we need to enjoy the journey. See, this is what I want, but this is what I'm doing, and I want to enjoy the process and everything. And then I something came into my mind, and I was like, see, it's not about just enjoying the journey, but before starting the journey, you need to know that where you are going, right? You need to know that what is the destination, and then go. Otherwise, you are just going like around and around and enjoying the journey, and you are going
And the
nowhere.
why. It's like you said before. People always go, why? Because I want £1 million. But they haven't thought, but why? Well, how does that make you
Yeah,
feel? What's the emotions?
yeah. So it's because if you tap into that, a lot of people they want to be seen, they want to be recognized. Basically, a lot of people they want to be loved and they want to be recognized and seen by
Yeah.
their loved ones. And a lot of people they want to provide for their family, support them, and everything. And this is what they want. And maybe they want to have a fancy, expensive car just because people see them, people give them some respect. It's not a big thing. So
I was going to
if
say
you are,
respect. Respect is a big driver for a lot of people. They just want to be respected and loved.
yeah. So it's, yeah, a lot of people think that if I'll have this car, people will respect me. And obviously it works. If I talk about women, if I have this bag, or maybe if I have Dior perfume, lipstick, maybe dress, my friends are going to think that I have made it, the all the branded and expensive things. But
Yeah.
it's not the
And
bag
before you
statement, the
go on to
dress.
that bit, and for the men watching, it's the car is a big driver. The size of house that you have and the woman that's on your shoulder typically are the big drivers when it comes into a man's world. So carry on. So it's not the
Yeah, it's not the thing, but it's the feeling that the way people look at you. And you can see that in some way or other, that feeling is playing out because some of your friends, they're looking at you and they're like, oh my God, like this person has like their life together or something like that. They actually respect you. If someone is really your friend, they will respect you. Maybe, but it's like a lot of people have this self-worth issues that maybe if I'll have this thing, then only I am like worthy of receiving this respect. But it's not like that.
yeah. What do you
So
think about walk, talk, and act like the person that you want to become to attract the goal or the vision and the things that you want to achieve?
I am a huge believer of this actually. So there is this line, I think Rihanna told this, fake it till you make it. I'm sure that everybody, I'm not sure. I saw a reel. In that reel, Rihanna told this line that fake it till you make it,
Yeah.
which is good. But then I'm not sure how many of Lara Costa, she's like very big on LinkedIn. I was reading one of her posts and she wrote this one thing that it's be it till you become it. And something clicked in me. I was like, oh my God, like she is talking about embodiment and everything. It's not just pretending, but it's like embodying. Sometimes a lot of people, when they see that act like your future self, then their future self has the car they want. Then they are going to buy that car with their credit card. Their future self is not buying that car with their credit card. They are buying that car with overflow, not with a like
Mm,
loan or something. See, this is like the
yeah.
nuances to this.
So kind of a
A lot of,
balance around it.
yeah. So their future self knows how to be mindful with money, be mindful with nutrition and stuff. Their future self is not wasting their energy, time, and not like breaking their own boundaries. So I would say
I
this.
remember going back a bit, yeah, to when I was
Mhm.
18, which believe it or not, is 25 years ago, 26, nearly 26 years ago, when I
Wow.
started out in
I was
sales.
not even born yet.
That makes me feel really old. Anyway, so I started out, and my first sales job was in a timeshare office. And this
Okay.
timeshare office had 6 salespeople, and they were all over the age of 45. In fact, the
Mhm.
oldest was 85, I think. And so they were very experienced salespeople selling dream homes. So, for anyone who doesn't know what a timeshare is, it's the idea that you buy and own your holidays. So, if you own your home, you own your car, you should buy your holidays. So, people would come to this lovely 5-star resort, and the idea would be that they would buy 1 week of the year for
Mhm.
50 years. So they could swap it and they could go anywhere internationally. Or so They typically would cost like between £7,500 and £15,000 26 years ago. So that was a lot of money then, considering that was like someone's annual wage if they were doing well. It was a lot of money. And maybe not, maybe half their wage. But my first boss, he said to me, he pulled me to one side and he said, I'm going to teach you everything about sales. I can teach you everything about the product, but I can't teach you the ability to sell comes from within you. And that's going to be the same for everyone who is listening that's just started a business. They're going to have to learn how to sell and sell quick, and they're going to have to learn how to market. And those are two very different things. But he said to me, you have to walk, talk, and act like someone else. And I said to him, what do you mean by that? I don't understand what you mean by that. And he said, because people are not going to want to buy from you. He said, you're 18 years old, and they can't possibly believe that you have owned your holidays. You probably haven't been on a holiday, is what they're thinking. So you're going to have to be better than everyone else in the room, because you're going to have to make these people believe that they want to buy a holiday and they want to buy it from you, but you've never been on a holiday. He said, so you're going to have to be. So I said to him, how do I do that? How do I walk, talk, and act like someone else? And he said, do you want me to be honest with you? And I said, yeah, please be honest with me. And he said, you need to dress different. You need to stand different. You need to talk different. You need to take a different journey when you come in down the road. Think of, if you're making 100 grand a year and you're a confident person that these people want to buy their holiday from, what's your journey into the office? I bet you walked through the field, but there's a road over there with the seaside. You'd be driving in, you'd be loving the sunshine, you'd be pulling up, and you'd be opening your car with such confidence and gusto, walking into the office. You'd have a suave about you. You'd dress well because you want to be someone that they want to buy from. And it's probably not you, Dee. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I embodied that. And I started to think, how would the person act that is the top seller in the room? And I started to compete with all these people. And they were like, how are you doing that? You're 18 years old. What? And I started to earn money from it. And that was my first thing into sales, was that walk, talk, and act and embody something else. And it works, for sure.
Okay, so there is this one thing that I am going to tell you. So when in my first corporate job, not first, it was my only one, I would say. Right after college, I got placed from my college. And then I got a job, and there I was like managing a lot of people, like literally a lot of people, and they were like twice my age.
And also,
if
you've
I
got to put, for the audience, you've got to put that into context. You're a woman in India managing men in the engineering space.
Oh, and they're twice my age.
Yeah, at your age.
And yeah, and they have a lot of experience in that industry. And I just came from the college, and just COVID happened. So I have not even done practicals in my college. So I have no experience about electrical. Because see, what happens in the books is very different in real life. It's two worlds. And I'm like, how am I going to, why they should listen to me? Because it's like they know more than me. Just because I am an engineer and here I am senior than them, that does not mean that I have more knowledge than them. Then why should they listen to me? And then I told my boss about this, my manager, that I don't think they are going to listen to me. They don't listen to me. And for sometimes I would say they actually didn't listen to me around 6 months. And after that, my manager told me that if you keep thinking like that, then they will never listen to you. You are going to like act like you are the manager, because you are the manager. You are the engineer here. So act like one. And then I was like, okay, it's a little difficult because I don't know because the area industry is like very big. I don't know the every part of it. I don't know where this machine is located. Or sometimes I didn't even know that what that machine did actually. So I was like, okay. And he was like, see, you don't have to know everything, because leadership is not just about managing people who know less than you, but it's also about managing people who know more than you. Because what if you go into a startup and they like you are a manager and you are managing a lot of specialists. So you are not expected to know every little detail of it, but you are here to manage people. So think of it from that perspective. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's going to be hard because obviously, like, they are men, and they, like, I am their daughter's age probably. And I'm like, okay, I just have to believe it. I was not like
Mm.
be it. I was not in embodying phase. I was like pretending, like literally pretending.
Yeah.
Yeah, because see, at that time I did not even know about this much of
How did it
depth.
go? How did it go? Did you get them believing you?
Yeah, I was lead engineer
Love
then.
it.
Not at that time, but after like around a year, I would say, I got the title of lead engineer from.
So there's a couple of things there that actually lead me into something else that I wanted to talk about. The first thing is walk, talk, and act.
Yeah.
And we've got an ebook. So if you're watching this and you're going to find that useful, I'll put a link to the ebook where you can get a copy, which is called Walk, Talk, and Act, actually. And will help you with that kind of in business and the mindset side of things. But what you've
Yeah.
just described in terms of by you doing that, it got you the lead engineer position. And there's a couple of people that I work with quite closely that I think one of them, David, would be really useful. But also, I think there's areas for those bigger businesses that are looking to exit. Talking about David first. So David Roylands of Speak to Shine. So David works with people on how they can act and show up. So typically, someone who's going to command a stage of 4,000 people would pay David to look at how they talk and how they walk, and to a certain extent how they speak and what they wear, how they show up, and what that does to the subconscious mind that can take somebody and get them more. So for example, he's worked with a lot of people in the banking industry where they might be on like 100,000 a year, but they want to get that higher job, that step up, and they've been doing the same thing for 3, 4, 5 years. And that comes down to how they portray and how they walk, talk, and act, and embodying, and some of that, as well as tone of voice and what you wear in the subconscious mind. So there's like this scientifical, spiritual meets subconscious mind, where for anyone who is not sure what I mean by that, the subconscious mind makes decisions before our conscious mind. It tells our conscious mind what to think, almost when we first meet people in the first 3 seconds, etc. So David will take people on 100 grand a year and turn them into getting that promotion that means they get 150,000 pounds a year or 200,000 pounds a year. Or so he can help you to grow as a person. Might be too expensive for our startups who are watching, but if you're an executive and you're in the scale up or growth stage, then I couldn't recommend that enough. If you're an executive that wants to become the future leader of the firm, then sometimes how you show up and embody that is really important. And then he also works very closely, as do I, with a lady called Sandy of Goddard Delaney, Sandy Goddard. And I'll put links to both these people's LinkedIn profiles in the comments. And Sandy can work with you if you're up here and you're looking for a way to exit or get a management buyout, etc., and you're looking to look at the structure of the business and the pillars and the systems and the processes, but also the leadership team that you have that might want to make these improvements. Then if you're going to sell your business and someone's going to come in and pay 10 million, 50 million pounds for your business, they're going to want to know that you have the best leadership team in place, the best structure and systems in place. So these two, although they do very different things, can actually help you to make a lot of money and to get the dreams or the goal that you want, when maybe some people are just they're stuck in their outer walls. So if that's you, I'll put their links into the comments. But yeah, I find that embodiment and being someone else is such a powerful thing, but it's very difficult to do and learn, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would like to give one thing. So I would say key takeaways from this. I am a huge believer of this, and I am sure that it will help out a lot of people. So if you're starting out and you want something that you don't even believe that it's possible, just like I did. So to embody something, you need to believe that it's possible for you. But sometimes, like our subconscious mind, or maybe consciously, we don't even believe that it's possible. So you can just pretend for a few times, few months. And then when you feel like, okay, it's possible for me, then you can start like embodying the traits and everything. So I would say, first of all, know that what kind of person you want to become. What do you want? Because that is very important. Where you want to go, that is very important. So
Mm.
know that. And then
And
think like,
why
yeah,
you want to
why?
go.
Why you want to go? And then you list down the kind of like the way they talk, move, act, and everything. And then try to be like that person. And I am not saying just the outer part of it, that okay, this person is living in this mansion or driving this car or wearing this kind of like expensive brands. It's not like that, but how that person is acting in their business, how the way they are treating their employees.
The inner person.
Yeah, the inner person. Try to be that person, try to embody that. And I feel it's not that hard, actually.
It becomes a
No.
habit as well
Yeah,
to
with
do that.
time, it's more like embodiment. Obviously embodiment comes with time. At first you have to act a certain way.
The thing I would say as well is a great tip. If you're thinking, oh, I should try that and I'm going to try that, for the viewers, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, so you can give us your thoughts after, Aditya, and they may be the same or different, but visualization for me is something that, if you can clear the mind, first of all, if you have a noisy mind, then it's almost pointless. But if you have a good environment and you can cancel some noise, find a quiet space, and then visualize and try hard. It's so hard when you first start to try to do this, but try to visualize that and try to be that person in your mind, because
Mhm.
the fact is your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what you can visualize. So if
Mhm.
you've visualized it, your brain sees it to be true and to have happened, and it makes it much easier then to embody being it, because it's like you trick your brain into thinking, I'm already it, I've seen it in my. So the subconscious mind allows you to do it a bit more comfortably than the fake it till you make it. You still want to have authenticity, and I find that's a really great way to
Mhm.
still then be authentic when you do it.
I
Do you
agree
have a
to this.
different thought? You do. Good.
Okay, so I would say not different, because I am visualizing since I was very old. Not old, like very young. I
Yeah,
would say around 7 or 8 years old.
you're still very young.
No, I was like just a kid. I would say around 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
And this is, yeah, and I did not even know about the visualization, because I remember that I used to watch movie and I used to imagine that movie in my mind, the good part of that movie. And when I was like studying and everything, I used to imagine that I am going to go on this like amazing college. I am going to go in this beautiful city, and the kind of everything I had in mind, because in India, like where I come from, it's the place like pretty warm place, right? And I wanted to go in somewhere where it was cold. And I was like, okay, I want to, and before sleeping, I used to just imagine and sleep because it felt good. I did not want it to be a stress or something. I wanted to sleep happy. So I used to visualize that, okay, I am coming out of like my college after classes, and then I am seeing that all the people wearing coats and all, because it's cold, and I am having like coffee and tea. I was imagining very little things. Okay, so I would like mostly imagine about eating stuff. Okay, so yeah, I'm a big
Food's a
foodie.
big part of culture there, huh?
Yeah. So this was the one of think, okay, I'm gonna go here. So I will eat this, I will eat that. And I will click pictures because I really wanted to get camera at that time. So these two things I always imagined. I was like, okay, I am recording videos and I'm talking on YouTube and stuff. And then I'm eating food, great food. And I did not even know about the visualization. I got into a college in the place where my college was like in a very beautiful place. It's called, I think, Switzerland or Scotland of India. It's like that kind of place. It's
Oh,
very like
sounds cold, but I
mountain.
don't think it would be cold.
It's, I don't know, like, see,
Scotland is very cold.
okay, so I don't know exact the name, but it's very nature and scene. So where my college
Yeah.
was, it's in like Meghalaya. So
Nice.
you have a lot of rain there, and the weather is like really nice and foggy and dreamy. I loved the place there.
And
Like,
did you
oh,
stay there or did you stay at home?
no, I stayed there. No, obviously my college was there.
Yeah.
So how can I stay at home? So it was around around I would say 30 hours far from my home. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I got this I wanted and I got this. And I did not know about like manifestation and law of attraction. I did not know anything. And then like COVID happened and I got to know about a law of attraction and everything. I was like, okay, this time I want to go to a historical place where like they have a lot of forts and stuff. And I was like, okay, I just used to imagine that I am walking around the palaces and forts before sleeping. It's not like big visualization, it's just me just walking around the palaces and stuff. And then again, my job was in a place where they have a lot of forts and palaces. I was like, yeah, I'm nailing it. So visualization, it works, but I don't do it the way most people do. A lot of people visualize getting the certain amount in their bank. I
It's
prefer
very
focus on the
interesting as well because I
huh.
want to because I forget things as we go through the conversation. But as you were talking there, so you were visualizing something that later on you decide is not for you. So that kind of that saying of be careful what you wish for, because you visualized all of that path and then you got there and thought, actually, there's something else that I need to do. And so for balance and to be authentically you. And I think similarly, the same for me. I can remember a time, I'll give you an example. So when I was in my corporate job in London for a company called Central FX, and I worked there for many years, and I thought, I want something different. And I just learned, so we're going back, I think it's about 2.5 years ago, I got to understand what spirituality is, law of attraction, and all these different frequencies, numbers, all the different kind of things. And I started to manifest for the first time and visualize for the first time. And I wrote down a few things that I wanted, like 5 of them. And every day on my commute in, I looked at this is what I want, and this is what it looks like. And rather than read the paper, I tried to visualize at any moment that I could what it would feel like to have those things and what it smells like. And I'd really try to put myself in the moment so it feels real. And it was the first time I was practicing this. And I'd been in that job for 4 years. And 6 months later, I was not in London. I was in a different part of the country in Leeds, so miles and miles away, in a higher paid job for another company, but almost living in the exact house that I visualized, doing the same exact things that I visualized. But if you'd have told me 6 months before, and before I started to learn law of attraction, spirituality, and that I would be doing that, I would have people would have laughed. Anyone who knows me would have laughed. It just wouldn't have been a thing. But so I visualized the outcomes and how they felt. And then my life just the path unfolded to that. But like you, the funny thing is what I chose was not what made me happy. In fact, it was probably a little bit of the opposite. And so it empowered me to go. The only time I've ever felt in balance and in power is when I was running my marketing agency. So I've got to do it again. And actually, I want to do it bigger and better. And I got really excited about that. And the only hurdle was financially, are you supported? How are you going to replace that corporate income? There was a lot of fear around that decision. How am I going to replace the money? How am I going to pay the bills? But it's one thing wanting to know you're going to do something else. And both of us have made this leap and come out the other side loving it and feeling in balance and feeling in power. But there'll be some viewers at home that are watching this that are still in corporate and they have a business idea and they want to do it, but then they're scared and they've been putting it off for ages. So for them, this is something that can really work for them. They can manifest into their lives exactly what they want. And anyone can do it. If you remove the fear and go into an uncomfortable fear, take a risk, then so much beauty can come from that if they practice the visualization.
Yeah, that I agree. And the one thing that you said that I manifested the thing that I didn't want. But when I started visualization, I did wanted that thing.
But you brought it into your existence, yeah.
Yes, it's like the thing I wanted, I got exactly the way I wanted. But after getting that thing, I realized that this is not for me. It's you want it's if you have a crush on someone and you want to like, I want to date this person, and then you finally that person is let's date, and you're like, okay, like it is going so well because I did not even had to ask. That person asked from their side, and then you go and then you start talking to that person, and you think this person does not has the same values as me. I cannot imagine us even the 6 months down the line us together being together.
Well,
It's
you do have to be careful what you wish for, don't you? And I think there are the levels again, because we talked about the levels of the viewers that might be watching. So if they're at the level of they're looking for a buyout and a management buyout and an exit, for them, visualizing how they feel and what they'll be doing next once they get the 20 million or the 200 million or the 200 billion, whatever level the buyout is, how they're going to feel and what they would be doing next. If they can visualize that, it's got to, I truly believe, and I think you do, and a lot of our viewers who have practiced it before, because once you practice something and it works, you believe it. So we're believers in it, that they've got more chance of attracting that into their life. And then if the lower level down, those people who are in the scale up stage and they can only dream of getting up here, again, if they can visualize how it feels to be there and walk, talk, and act like that person now, that step up, just the path, just the law of attraction, it just unfolds for you. And the same going further down, if you're somebody who's watching and you're wanting to go from freelance to business and that's scary, to think about how do I employ people and how do I learn that? How do I put systems in place? There's IT, operations, sales, marketing, all that seems scary. It's such a leap. I think for those people, having a practice at visualization is something that can allow them to do it, but actually it takes the fear away. It's about how they feel, and then the path, just things just happen and people present themselves to you and opportunities happen. And that's my thoughts on it. I
yeah,
don't know about you.
yeah, I feel like I relate to this, I agree to this. Once you decide something and you're like, yes, I'm gonna do this, and you put the intention out in the universe, and universe be like, I'm gonna present all the opportunities so that you can actually do that. But sometimes what happens, because in my previous job, I was getting paid a good amount of money. So I was very comfortable and it gave me all the luxury that I wanted at that age, I would say. So a lot of people would think that why would I leave this thing to pursue this completely new thing that I don't even know that if it will work out or not. And my family is going to oppose this, that don't do this. My friends are going to think that I'm stupid or something. But what happens?
They
You
do
can
genuinely,
actually,
don't they? When you tell your family and your friends your plans of your aspirations of who you want to become, they go, "You couldn't do that."
okay, with my case, it was more like, this is not the right thing for you. You can do a lot of different things better, but not this. Because what people are going to say that this girls make content on social media. What kind of
Yeah,
this is? Like, just to say, if someone says, okay, my daughter writes content on LinkedIn, or my daughter is an electrical engineer, where is the more reputation there? Get,
brave what you did do though. It's brave that you went against the grain because of that, and
yeah,
because of the cultural aspects to that there.
yeah. And again, that I am a girl. And then in India, the situation is different, a lot different. I don't know. I feel a lot of in the countries, I would say the situation is not that different because women are a lot of parent like expect their girls or their kids to get married, get settled down, have a stable job and everything. And after
Mm-hmm.
that, you are leaving the job that you wanted and you are leaving the status, the reputation that you wanted for nothing, I would say. Because that is nothing only when I resigned from my job, I did not had anything
Yeah,
as a backup. But I had this feeling, I would say in my bones, I would say that I am going to do something different that is actually going to make some impact and the impact that is visible to me. It's like that.
Yeah.
So I had this like huge, strong feeling, and then I resigned. But after 1 or 2 months, I started to doubt that feeling because a lot of things were not
Yeah.
working out.
It takes
This
time,
is,
doesn't it? It's
yeah,
a long
obviously
term.
that is the path, but something was like, no, you have to prove yourself, not to other people, but to myself that my dreams are worthy enough to put the work and everything. I was like, I have to do it for myself because I really want this. And I cannot imagine my life without having this. I was like, okay, I have to put in the work. But things turned out pretty great in few months because obviously I had to be that person who who had all the skills to be, I would say, do good in the industry. If I talk about the marketing, when I started out, I did know about some of the marketing, some of the part of it, but as social media changes, the algorithm, everything changes. And I had to learn a lot of things. And it took time. It took me around 3 to 4 months to actually
Yeah.
be like good at it. Not say I would good better than a lot of people, so that I can be people can like my clients could trust me because okay, she knows. I can trust myself that I can deliver results to my client. I can write better content, good content. So obviously
Yeah.
with every industry, when you start out, you are going to have those moments that you are going to think that like doubting yourself and everything.
There is so much to business that anyone who it goes from corporate, so if you're watching this and you're thinking of taking that leap, it's not a get rich quick. And you have to, in the same way you can't learn to ride a bike without falling off.
Yeah.
There has to be moments where, and if you do fall off, it probably hurts a little bit, but the end
More,
goal is that
not just
you
a
can,
little bit.
yeah, absolutely. And so that's important for people to remember. It takes time. I think you don't have to be super intelligent or super special to make it in business. I think you have to be consistent. So you have to have a goal and a vision. You have to have a plan, and you have to put some processes and structures in. But ultimately, you have to start somewhere. And if you don't know how to do marketing, then you try a few things, you fail really quickly, and then you pivot and you learn and you find something that works. And brilliant, now you can market. If you don't know how to sell, then make a few sales, pick up the fear, get that rejection, get over the fear of rejection, and eventually, if you just keep climbing the mountain, you will. And so you end up with these plates that are spinning. And as soon as it works for you, you start to believe it, and you can trust it. That works. Try something else. But if you are starting a business, then we can probably help you with that. We have a bunch of apps in the Tenacious AI platform. Again, we'll put a link in the comments. There's 20 apps that are free. So if you're about to make that jump from corporate, then you are going to have to buy a domain name. You're going to have to host that domain name. You're going to have to potentially build a website. You're going to have to set up an email address. You're going to have a platform to manage that email address. All of these things are different subscriptions that you would need to have. And then you're going to have to look at marketing, things like AI videos. You're going to have to look at a logo. You're going to have to look at branding. You've got to teach yourself how to sell. There is a lot of failing to go into succeeding in business from the start. But the good news is that all of those things are currently free in the Tenacious AI platform. So you can do all of that stuff as well as create AI videos, as well as create images, your content marketing, come up with hooks, manage your task flow. All of these things are currently within the 20 free apps that we have in our Tenacious AI platform. So I'll put a link where you can subscribe. You do have to give your card, but we don't take any payment. That's just so that we don't have bots, etc., joining. So put your card details in, it's £0, and you'll have access to all of that stuff. The other thing is, it is quite challenging, and it does take time, and there is a lot of failing, and it can become
First 6 months, for
clarity can
6 months,
become
and
muddy.
yeah.
So if you need a holding hand, we do have our startup accelerators. So you can come and join that, and then you'll be part of a community, and we can help you with all of the things that you need to do and put in place, systems and processes, and use our expertise, content writing, even access to time with the lovely Aditya here. or myself, and there will be masterclasses and videos that you can watch. So just to make that jump a lot less fearful. And so I'll put a link to the Startup Accelerators. There's going to be a lot of links in the comments, basically.
Yeah. And you won't be confused. We'll put it pretty clearly, each and
Yes.
every link.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there is one thing I would like to say, the people who want to start their business, or maybe they are very early stage of startups, that
Yeah,
move faster than fear. Fail early,
good
learn
advice.
something, move faster than fear. And this is not mine. One of my coach told me that if you are scared, do it scared. You know, when like when the your fear comes, you have do it like that you have taken that step. Just like you want to launch something and you have this
In
fear
the
that what
world,
if people are.
and in the world that we live in as well, Aditya, where AI is coming in
Mhm.
and people can do things much, much quicker. If you're going to take that leap and you want to plan and learn and perfect everything before you fail, you're going to fail. So there's
Yeah.
this old saying that it used to be true: failure to plan is preparing to fail, which is fine. Yeah, it used to work in the old world. I just think in this world, plan as much as you can, perfect as much as you can, but move very quickly and fail, and then understand why you failed, and then pivot and improve until you find the solution, and do that in everything. Just become a failure is good. I love failure. Let me just learn.
There's this girl on Instagram, I think. I don't remember her name, but she started a rejection challenge. That my
Yeah,
goal is, and she's like more, I think more into she's sales. She does high ticket sales from like different companies.
it's the new
And
age sales psychology. Chase the nose. Be comfortable, get excited about the no's, because, well, the reality is if you ask 100 people, 97 or 98 typically will say no. If you ask 1,000 people, and you just play the numbers, like aim for lots. That's what she's doing there. She's aiming for lots of rejection, because that's where you find the yeses, the kind of the gold between the rocks. It's like polishing diamonds.
yeah, but there is a balance, I would say, when people say that if I talk about outreaching and stuff, we talk about in the when people are starting their business and they are outreaching their ideal client so that they can grow in their business. And some people try to do it like, I'm gonna message as much people as I can. But it's it gives this controlling and desperation energy and not like surrender kind of energy. So even if you are messaging someone, so be mindful of who you are messaging. If even if you like message like 10 to 50 people in a day, and if you have messaged the right people, then it's more beneficial rather than messaging like 200 random people.
I think that's a really powerful message. And actually, because I come from a background of marketing, which is about mass, so telemarketing is a numbers game. It's not,
Mhm.
because you'll tend to find that the big hitters, the rainmakers, they're the same every month. That's because they have a set of things that they do, that they practice. It's not because they're lucky, as some people would think. But I think there is a place for automation, and especially as in an AI world, and we're going to move that way, like quicker, more automated. So if you think like email marketing, you can't send 40 emails and get the same response. There is a kind of, you can select till the cows come home. But on the other hand, you can. So what do I mean by that? If it's cold data, you can play the numbers. You could email 10,000 people that seem to fit the right profile. You might be using things like Lusher or Zoom Info, or there are other platforms that will allow you to get the details of a lot of people and then take them through sequences and apply automation. And I know it works. I've seen it work, where if you play the numbers, if you reach out to 10,000 people, let's say that 1 in 1,000 reply, that's 10 customers, and 10 customers can be worth quite a lot of money in the grand scheme of growing your business, which is why people have always done and will continue to do audiences and send emails out. But on the flip side of that, there is an argument to say as well that you should have an email automation, well, you should have an email strategy that is more, if somebody says they're interested in spirituality, I'll email them this message because it will resonate more with them. And if somebody says they're interested in AI, then I'll email them this message because it's going to resonate with them. And then taking it even further is that being really intentional, that you vibe with somebody. Maybe you've seen a piece of content that you vibe with and you reach out to that person, and actually there's real personalized energy in there. But I think there's a space for both. I agree with what you're saying. The world has gone to slow it down, be more personalized. But I think for things like email and certain areas, such as cold calling, for example, you can't make 40 calls and make 10 clients. It's just not going to work, in my opinion. But I think there's a balance there between automation and personalization.
Okay, so I feel even if you are doing the automation, personalization is very important, and knowing that who is your
Correct.
customer actually, right? See, our audience is, if you are like, we generally target startup business owners and then accountants, and we are messaging someone who is corporate. There is no point of calling a person who works in corporate and they don't even want to start a business or something. We are wasting our time and energy and resources there. So it's about being mindful that, and using everything like mindfully, I would say. Even if you are cold calling to 20 people, just before cold calling, make sure that you have the right data. You
Yeah,
not
that's a really
just
important
calling
point.
in, yeah, not
And I
calling
think
just anybody.
also for those smaller businesses, if you are just starting out,
Mm.
there's a reason why some people would say niche. And that's a kind of thing so that you can, similarly, you can talk to an audience and it feels more personal than if you, I think I'm wonderful, we have wonderful products. And so we would go for anybody is quite desperate. And if you were dating, you'd want to go for a certain type so that you can personalize it. And I think that that's the same. Yeah. So definitely you have to personalize even on mass outreach. But yeah.
Yes.
But
And
you
even,
do have to play the numbers sometimes, is the point. You do have to. If you don't shoot, you don't score. If you shoot 10,000 times, you're probably going to score a few goals. But if you shoot 10 times and then it doesn't matter how personalized you are, you need to
yeah,
have numbers too.
it's not just like one thing or other, it's both. Just inbound is great. It's not like just inbound or outbound. It's not just like personalization or mass. It's like both work together. You cannot have, okay, I'll have either water or food. It's like both of them are important,
I
right?
think that comes with experience. And that an example of this is probably a really good story here. When I ran my telemarketing agency 12,
Mhm.
13 years ago, there was a guy there and he was called Mickey Clayton. And Mickey was one of the oldest people that I employed, and he was a father of kids, etc. And he used to come in, and he was what I would call a rainmaker. He was somebody that he had a great tone of voice, and people liked him and deared to him. He could get people to do things that they didn't even want to do when he picked up the phone. And so he would come in, and where everybody else I tasked them that they have to make at least 50 to 60 calls a day, partly because then I knew that they were working, but also because that's the numbers. There's be really good and maximize, not 100 calls, because that's just a numbers game. For that, you'd employ monkeys. But if you make half the calls and take a bit more time to personalize it, research it, think about it, slow it down a little bit, I tend to find the results were there. But this guy used to come in and he would make 15 calls a day, and he was my top seller. He'd pick up the phone every half an hour, and it used to frustrate me because I used to say to him, and if there are businesses that are this level, that they're already at £1 million, £5 million, £10 million, £50 million, they're going to know who these people are. Every business, if you take 10 salespeople, there's always two rainmakers that make the most of the revenue within that sales team. And then there's four or five that do okay. And then there's two or three that really they're costing you more than your. So you have to make decisions quickly on these two or three. But those rainmakers are so infuriating because they could double revenue if they just worked really hard and busted a gut. But they don't, because they make good money and they're comfortable and they find it so incredibly easy that it's just a breeze. this guy, Mickey, he'd have his feet on the table for the whole day, but I couldn't tell him anything because he was worth a lot of money to me. And he just used to laugh at me.
I would like to say one thing here. So a lot of people who do great work, they take time to rest. They take time to actually fill their cup. So it's not about how much work they are doing, but it's about the output. This is
Exactly.
what I feel. Sometimes what happens that if I'm talking to someone and I'm like, recently I was giving consultation to a business owner, someone like she is just starting her business. It's been like not just starting, it's been around like 1 year in her business. And she had two businesses and she wanted to merge and build like one personal brand for both of it. And she was very confused. And I was giving like we were on consultation call and I was telling her like, okay, you can do this. And she was like, okay, just within 10 minutes or something, she was like, this much clarity I never had. So it's not just the amount of work you are doing, like the amount of input you are giving, but it's more like the amount of output you are giving. A lot of
I've met
people
some
can talk.
I've met some really incredible people. The kind of people who spend half their day on the golf course are people who are
Yeah,
going to know that skill. It's sometimes not how hard that you work, it's what you do with your time and doing
yeah.
tasks that move the needle and prioritizing and being, and all of that will come for a lot of our viewers who are growing businesses at whatever level that they're at. That will come as the subconscious knowledge and expertise that if you look at a successful person, and that's actually a good exercise to do. Go and take a successful person who's done what you want to achieve, invest
Mhm.
the money to take them to the restaurant they would love to go to and would value,
Mhm.
and spend an hour with them. And you will see some of the traits and things, and you'll be able to ask them questions and understand how they operate.
I have one tip here. And
Mm.
if sometimes what happens that I admire a lot of people and they don't even live in my country. So how do I get to know their traits? So what I do, I go on YouTube, I search their vlogs, like documentary vlogs, day in my life or something, and then I watch that. And I try to pick up the nuances that they are bringing, the way they are talking, the way they are moving, the way they're doing anything. So it's like that. Anybody can do that. It's like available on
Isn't
YouTube.
it funny
Go
that
check out their channel.
all of that is there? All of the
Yeah.
evidence to succeed and all of it is out there. It's just sometimes we don't see it, or we choose not to study it, or we're moving too fast that we don't
Mm,
even notice it. But yeah,
yeah.
it's slightly stalkerish. That's a great tip.
Yeah. I do it. Actually.
Let's wrap things up. I will do a little kind of thanks, Aditya. It's been wonderful having it. I'll film that and then add it on, script it, film it, add it on to this. And then it'll go into. So, what final words would you have for the audience?
Okay. So for the audience,
Feel free
if
to
you
take a
want,
moment. So, you're going to have startups, scale ups, big businesses, freelancers, big and small, but a lot of scared people who could
Mhm.
apply some of the techniques or things that we've talked about in that audience.
Okay, okay. So anybody, not just people who are anybody who wants something and they want to get it, right? It can be very small thing or a big thing. And you want to include spirituality into that. So the major thing you will have to learn and work on that. That first of all, get to know about yourself. Even if you're like building a business, then it's like the bigger inner work you will do. If you want to do like biggest inner work, start a business. Start a it's like you will learn a lot of things that like a lot of people don't even learn in multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, very
So
empowering.
yeah. So if you have that desire to do something, so it's not everybody gets desire. Like your desires are planted in your heart for a reason. So like universe wants you to do that. All you have to do is take action. And sometimes think things does not work out, but that doesn't mean that you are on a wrong path or you're doing something wrong, or maybe you have taken some decisions wrong. This is the path that you are meant to walk on to become the person who has all the things that you want. So it's like that. And I would say, if you are someone who are like, I'm atheist, I don't believe in all this stuff. So even if you don't believe in the stuff, like, sometimes if we talk about the spirituality, it's like there is a very different thing of it. Spirituality is not about the way religion talks about it, but it's more knowing yourself. There is this quote that you, like, you are the universe and universe is you. It's not two different things. It's the way you know yourself. So in one line, I would say, anybody who is watching this, spirituality is more like, in business, if you are taking this spiritual approach, it's understanding yourself more, knowing yourself more, and healing the parts that you didn't even know that it was hurt, and being the version that has everything, not just the revenue and the profit part of it, but everything, like someone who has like best relationship with their parents, their partners, their kids, someone who have like amazing friends, someone who has like amazing clients, someone who delivers the amazing results to their clients, someone who makes impact on the world. It's like that. It's becoming that. And even if you don't believe in that spirituality, but you believe in become a notion of becoming that person, I feel this is the spirituality. Spirituality is not
Yeah,
about restricting yourself, but spirituality is about freeing yourself from all the restrictions that society has put on you or you have put on yourself, and becoming the version that is just whole, I would say, not just the I am all light and I'm all good, but just like I have range. And obviously, I have some gray areas, some light areas, and some dark areas, but this is like all of me. And I embrace that.
I love that. That's very
Like that.
powerful. And yeah, the conversation has been enlightening. So thank you, Aditya.
I loved having this conversation, and thank you for having me.
Nice. All right. I'll see you
Bye.
later.
Take care. Yeah, take care.
You too. Bye bye.